The Leaning Tower of Pisa is very famous. People all over the world know about it, but did you know that it wasn't supposed to lean? The tower started to lean while it was being built long ago. This happened because the ground underneath it was not very strong. The tower was built in stages with long pauses in between. Each time they added more levels, the tower leaned a little bit more. The builders tried to fix it by making the walls on one side taller. This made the tower a little bit curved, but it still leaned. The tower is actually a bell tower, part of a larger cathedral complex. It has 8 levels, including the bell chamber at the top. You can climb all the way up to the top of the tower if you're not afraid of heights. From the top, there are beautiful views of the city of Pisa. Even though the Leaning Tower is a bit of a mistake, it's become a beloved landmark. It attracts millions of visitors every year, all eager to take that iconic photo seeming to hold the tower up. For centuries, the Leaning Tower of Pisa was a bit of a mystery. Nobody knew for sure why it leaned or if it would ever fall down, but in the 20th century, engineers started to worry. The tower was leaning more and more, and it seemed like it could collapse at any time. By the 1990s, the tower was leaning over 5 degrees. That's like the top of the tower being 15 feet off center. The Italian government was very worried. They closed the tower to the public and called in a team of experts to try to save it. The engineers had to figure out a way to stabilize the tower without damaging it. They considered all sorts of ideas, from freezing the ground underneath the tower to building a giant concrete support structure around it. One idea was to anchor the tower to the ground with steel cables, but when they started digging, they found that the ground was even weaker than they thought. The cables wouldn't have been strong enough to hold the tower up. The engineers needed a temporary solution to buy them some time. They decided to use something very heavy to try and counteract the lean lead weights. These weights, totaling hundreds of tons, were carefully stacked on the base of the leaning side. It worked. The lead weights helped to straighten the tower a little bit, but they were only a temporary solution. The engineers needed to find a permanent way to fix the tower. They knew they had to do something about the unstable ground beneath. The lead weights may have been effective, but they weren't pretty. The tower, once a vision in white marble, was now ringed by dull grey metal. Tourists could still visit, but the view was far from ideal. The pressure was on to find a better solution, and fast. The engineers finally came up with a clever plan. They decided to remove small amounts of soil from underneath the raised side of the tower, very carefully and very slowly. This process is called under-excavation. They used special drills to create small holes in the ground. Then they removed the soil from these holes bit by bit. As they removed the soil, the tower started to settle back into a more upright position, millimeter by millimeter. This was a very delicate operation, but it worked. Over time, the engineers were able to reduce the lean of the tower by almost half a meter. The Leaning Tower of Pisa is still leaning today, but it's much more stable than it was before. It is now expected to stand for centuries to come. The tower is a testament to the ingenuity and perseverance of the engineers who saved it from collapse. It's also a reminder that even mistakes can become famous landmarks.